You lie in the dark. No phone, no noise, no distractions. And then it starts again. That moment, that sentence you should have said differently, that mistake you made years ago, replaying like a broken projector that refuses to shut off. You tell yourself to stop thinking, but your mind doesn't listen. Here's the truth. No one tells you. Your brain isn't broken. Your brain is addicted. Addicted to the past, addicted to pain, addicted to familiar suffering. And tonight, we're going to expose why. Your brain will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar freedom. Why? Because certainty feels safer than possibility. Pain you recognize feels controllable. Peace you don't recognize feels dangerous. So your mind keeps returning to the same memories, not to punish you, but to protect you. The past is predictable, the future is not, and the brain values survival over happiness. Your mind is a master storyteller, but it doesn't tell the truth. It tells coherent lies. Every time you replay that memory, your brain edits it, enhances it, distorts it. You're no longer remembering reality. You're remembering a narrative your mind constructed to explain who you are. And slowly, that narrative becomes your identity. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Every memory has a chemical fingerprint. Shame releases cortisol. Regret releases adrenaline. Loss releases dopamine. Yes, dopamine. Your body doesn't know the difference between emotional pain and stimulation. Bar, so it starts craving it. That tight chest, but that sinking feeling, that familiar ache. You don't just remember pain, you reproduce it chemically. The longer you suffer, the harder it is to let go. Because if you release the pain, you must admit it was unnecessary. And that realization is more terrifying than the pain itself. So your mind says, if I've carried this for years, it must mean something. This is the sunk cost fallacy, but applied to identity. Viewer, you don't cling to the memory. You cling to the meaning you attach to it. Notice something strange. That memory feels recent, even if it happened a decade ago. That's because the brain doesn't experience time the way clocks do. Unresolved emotion collapses time. To your nervous system, the past is still happening. That's why your body reacts before logic can intervene. Here's a brutal truth. Some memories don't fade because you keep feeding them oxygen. Attention is oxygen. Emotion is fuel. Remove both, and the memory begins to decay. Not suppressed. Not healed. Starved. This is psychological necrosis, but here's the danger. When you remove suffering, a vacuum appears. And most people panic. They rush to fill it with distraction, drama, new pain. Because silence feels like death to an untrained mind. Freedom feels empty before it feels peaceful. The ancient Stoics had a weapon for this. Amor Fati. Not acceptance, not forgiveness, ownership. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And instead say, this happened, therefore it serves me. The memory loses its power when it no longer argues with reality. Here's the override. When the memory appears, do not fight it. Do not analyze it. Do not escape it. Observe it without emotion. No story. No judgment. No meaning. Emotionless attention collapses the loop. The brain gets no reward. And addiction dies without drama. Most people never escape this prison because the bars are invisible. And the guard is their own mind. But now you see the machinery, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most people believe something is wrong with them. They think the constant replaying of memories, the sudden emotional spikes, the inability to let go of the past means their mind is damaged, weak, or defective. That belief is comforting, because if you're broken, the problem feels external, but the truth is far more unsettling. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The human brain evolved to repeat what produces strong internal reactions. It doesn't distinguish between pleasure and pain. It only measures intensity. Anything that creates a powerful emotional charge gets prioritized, rehearsed, and reinforced. Trauma, regret, humiliation, and loss all generate intense internal signals. Cortisol spikes, adrenaline surges, dopamine releases in small, unpredictable bursts. From a neurological perspective, this cocktail is stimulating, and stimulation is addictive. This is why your mind returns to the same memory at night, when distractions disappear, not because it wants to hurt you, but because it is seeking the familiar chemical state that memory produces. The brain recognizes the pattern. It knows what comes next. It knows how it feels. Familiar pain is predictable. Predictability feels safe. Over time, the brain wires this loop deeper. The memory becomes a trigger. The trigger releases chemicals. The chemicals reinforce the pathway. The pathway becomes default. At that point, the past doesn't need to be remembered. It activates automatically. And here's where people get trapped. They interpret this loop as meaning. They assume, if I keep thinking about this, it must be important. So they analyze it, they judge it, they fight it. Each reaction feeds the addiction. The brain doesn't care if you hate the memory. Hatred is still attention. Fear is still stimulation. Regret is still chemistry. From the brain's perspective, the loop is working perfectly. This is why traditional advice fails. Let it go, heal it, think positive. These approaches treat the issue as a moral or emotional flaw. They ignore the mechanism. You cannot reason an addiction away. You cannot understand it into submission. You have to starve it. Once you see this, something shifts. The shame dissolves. The self-blame loses its grip. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what is my brain getting from this? But that question is dangerous because it reveals the truth. You are not haunted by the past. You are chemically attached to it. And addiction doesn't end through force. It ends when the reward disappears. The moment you stop feeding the loop with emotional energy, the brain loses interest. The pathway weakens. The replay fades. Not because you healed it, but because you no longer needed it. That is the difference between being broken and being addicted. The human mind does not pursue happiness. It pursues certainty. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths in psychology because it explains why people stay trapped in pain long after the danger has passed. The brain is not designed to maximize joy. It is designed to minimize uncertainty. Suffering you already understand feels manageable. Freedom you don't understand feels like a threat. This is why the mind returns to the same thoughts, the same regrets, the same internal arguments. Even when they hurt, they are known territory. You know how they end. You know what emotions they produce. You know how to survive them. The unknown, on the other hand, offers no script, and the brain hates unscripted reality. From an evolutionary perspective, predictability meant survival. A familiar threat could be anticipated. An unfamiliar one could be fatal. So the nervous system learned to associate novelty with danger, even when that novelty is peace, success, or emotional freedom. This is why letting go feels like falling. When pain has been present long enough, it becomes part of your internal environment. It shapes your routines, your identity, your expectations of the world. Remove it, and the system destabilizes. The brain interprets that instability as risk, so it pulls you back, not through logic, but through emotion. A memory resurfaces, a feeling tightens in your chest, an old narrative returns, and suddenly you're back in familiar hell. People often mistake this for self-sabotage. They say, I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. But the truth is more mechanical than moral. Your brain is choosing what it can predict over what it cannot control. Freedom is undefined. Pain is structured. Pain comes with rules. Guilt, shame, regret, longing. You know how to operate inside it. You know who you are there. But freedom demands something terrifying, responsibility. Without pain, there's no excuse. Without the past, there's no story to hide behind. Without suffering, you must decide who you are now. This is why the mind resists release at the final moment. It's not afraid of happiness, it's afraid of emptiness, the blank space where a new identity must be built. Most people retreat at that edge. They return to the memory. They return to the emotion. They return to what feels real. Because hell, when it's familiar, feels safer than freedom you haven't learned to inhabit. Understanding this removes the illusion of weakness. You're not failing to move on. You're obeying an ancient survival program that prioritizes certainty over growth. AND. Once you see that program, you can interrupt it, not by forcing yourself to be free, but by teaching your nervous system that the unknown is not a threat, it's simply unmapped territory. Freedom isn't dangerous, it's just unfamiliar, and unfamiliarity only feels lethal to a mind trained to survive, not to live. A single memory does not define you. Repetition does. The mind does not store memories as neutral records of the past. It stores them as patterns, emotional, narrative, and neurological patterns. Every time a memory is replayed, it is not retrieved like a file, it is reconstructed, and reconstruction is never exact. Each replay strengthens certain details and erases others. The emotion intensifies, the meaning sharpens, the story becomes cleaner, simpler, more absolute. I failed. I was rejected. I ruined everything. Over time, the memory stops being something that happened. It becomes something you are. This is how identity is formed, not through truth but through rehearsal. The brain uses repetition as a signal of importance. Whatever is revisited often must matter. Whatever matters must be integrated into the self. So the mind weaves memory into identity until the line between past and present dissolves. You stop saying, "That happened to me." You start saying, "That's who I am." This is where the trap closes. Once a memory becomes identity, letting it go feels like annihilation. You're no longer releasing an event, you're threatening the structure that tells you who you are in the world. The ego resists this violently. It doesn't care whether the identity is painful, it only cares that it is stable. A flawed identity is safer than no identity at all. So the mind protects the story, even when the story hurts. This is why people defend their suffering, why they repeat the same narratives, why they correct others who challenge their version of the past. Because if the story collapses, the self collapses with it. There is also a biological mechanism at work. When you repeatedly attach emotion to a memory, the neural pathways associated with that narrative become dominant. The brain defaults to them under stress, fatigue, or silence. They activate before conscious thought. You don't choose the memory chooses you, and because the memory carries emotional weight, it feels personal. True, important, necessary, but importance is an illusion created by repetition. The mind is not asking whether the story is accurate, it's asking whether it is familiar. This is why insight alone rarely frees people. Understanding the memory intellectually does nothing if the emotional loop remains intact. The identity has already been built around it. To escape, something radical must happen. You don't argue with the story. You don't reframe it. You don't replace it with positivity. You interrupt the reinforcement. When the memory appears, you refuse to become it. You observe it as an object, not as a definition. No commentary, no judgment, no self-reference. I am noticing a memory, not "this memory is me." This creates distance, and distance breaks identification. Without repetition, the identity weakens. Without emotional charge, the story loses gravity. And when the story loses gravity, the self is no longer trapped in orbit around the past. You don't destroy who you are. You discover who you are without the memory. And that version of you has been waiting, silently, for the loop to end. The mind does not repeat thoughts randomly. It repeats what is rewarded. Every mental loop survives on one thing: emotional attention. Not logic, not meaning. Emotion. The brain measures importance through intensity, and emotion is intensity made internal. This is why fighting a thought strengthens it. When a painful memory appears and you react with fear, anger, shame, or regret, the brain receives a clear signal. This matters. The nervous system responds by releasing chemicals: cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine, depending on the emotion attached, and the brain learns quickly. It notices that this memory produces a strong internal reaction, so it marks it as relevant, worth revisiting, worth rehearsing. This is how a loop is born. Most people assume that because a memory hurts, it must be processed, healed, or solved. But emotional engagement is not neutral, it is reinforcement. Every reaction is a payment. Every emotional spike is a reward. Even resistance feeds the system. Telling yourself, "I shouldn't think this," still requires you to think it. Trying to analyze it still keeps it active. Judging yourself for having it only adds more emotion to the loop. The brain doesn't understand intention. It only understands stimulation. This is why some memories grow stronger the more you try to escape them. The harder you fight, the more emotional energy you inject into the circuit. The loop tightens, the replay accelerates. From a neurological perspective, attention is fuel. Where attention goes, neural pathways grow. This applies whether the attention is loving or hostile. Fear strengthens pathways just as effectively as pleasure. Shame binds thoughts to identity. Regret chains the present to the past. The loop doesn't survive because it's unresolved. It survives because it's fed. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't know how to experience a memory without reacting to it. Emotion has become automatic. The body responds before awareness arrives. The story follows instantly. This creates the illusion of inevitability. But loops are not permanent structures. They are behavioral habits of attention. Habits can be broken, but not through force. The moment you stop rewarding the memory, it begins to weaken. When a thought arises and you observe it without emotional engagement, the brain receives nothing. No spike, no payoff, no reason to repeat it. At first, the mind resists. It replays the thought louder, faster, more vividly. This is not failure, it's withdrawal. The brain is testing whether the reward is truly gone. If you remain neutral, not cold, not suppressive, just unresponsive, the system adapts. The pathway loses priority. The loop collapses under its own lack of energy. This is why detachment feels powerful and strange. You're not suppressing the memory, you're starving it. And starving something feels different than fighting it. Fighting implies importance. Starvation implies irrelevance. Eventually, the brain moves on, not because you healed the past, but because the past no longer produces a chemical return. The loop doesn't end with understanding. It ends with emotional silence. And silence, to an addicted mind, is the most disruptive force of all.